Dr. Kim Taiho wiped the ice from his gloves and stared at the strange black stone in front of him. The cold wind of Siberia cut through his thick jacket, but he did not move. His team had been digging in this frozen wasteland for 6 months looking for old bones and pottery. Instead, they found something that made his hands shake. The stone was not like anything he had ever seen. It was perfectly smooth and covered with symbols that seemed to glow in the dim Arctic light. Dr. Park Mina knelt beside him, her breath making white clouds in the freezing air. She was the best language expert in Korea, and she had been trying to read these symbols for 3 weeks. We found 12 more stones like this one, she said. Her voice was quiet and worried. Each stone has the same message written in different languages. Some of these languages are so old they should not exist. The oldest one we found is over 50,000 years old. Kim Taiho felt his heart beat faster. 50,000 years was impossible. Humans back then were living in caves and hunting with stone tools. They could not write complex messages on stones like this. He picked up his camera and took more photos of the symbols. The flash made the symbols seem to dance on the black surface. Lee Dong-yoon walked over to them. His military boots crunched on the frozen ground. He was sent by the Korean government to watch their work and make sure they found nothing dangerous. But what they were finding was more dangerous than any weapon. What do the symbols say? He asked. His hand rested on his radio. He was ready to call his commanders in Seoul if needed. Park Mina stood up slowly. Her face was pale and her eyes looked scared. The message is the same on every stone, she said. It talks about destroyers who come from the sky. Every 10,000 years they wipe out all advanced civilizations on Earth. Then they leave and let primitive humans start over again. Kim Taiho felt the blood drain from his face. That is impossible, he whispered. But even as he said it, he knew it was true. The stones were real. The symbols were real. And if the message was true, then humanity was in terrible danger. The team worked through the night using heaters and bright lights to melt the ice around more stones. They found tablets that showed pictures of great cities being destroyed by fire from the sky. They found maps of Earth showing civilizations that history books said never existed. They found countdown timers carved in stone. Dr. Jang Suyang was the team's historian. She had studied every great civilization that ever existed. But these stones showed civilizations that were more advanced than anything she knew. Atlantis was real, she said, her voice shaking. These stones show it had technology. We are just starting to understand now, and it was destroyed exactly 10,000 years ago. The stones told a story that made Kim Taiho's blood run cold. Advanced aliens had been using Earth as a farm for millions of years. They let humans grow and develop technology. Then, when humans became too smart and too dangerous, they came back and destroyed everything. They left only primitive survivors to start the cycle again. Look at this pattern, Park Mina said. She had arranged photos of different stones in a line. Every stone shows the same thing. A great civilization rises. They build cities and technology. They reach for the stars. Then the destroyers come. Fire falls from the sky. Cities burn. Millions die. Only cave dwellers survive to start again. Kim Taiho studied the timeline carved into the largest stone. According to this, the last cleansing was exactly 10,000 years ago. The Great Flood, the destruction of advanced civilizations around the world, it all matched the timeline on the stones. And if the pattern was true, then the next cleansing was coming soon. How soon? Lee Dong-yoon asked. His voice was sharp and military. Park Mina traced the symbols with her finger. According to this countdown, we have exactly 3 years and 4 months before they return. The wind seemed to get colder. Kim Taiho looked around at his team. They were all staring at the stones with horror in their eyes. If this was true, then every person on Earth was about to die, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. But then Dr. Bae Hyun-woo found something different. He was digging near the largest stone when his shovel hit something metal. He brushed away the ice and found a metal cylinder covered in the same glowing symbols. This is different, he called out. The metal is not from Earth. I have never seen anything like it. Inside the cylinder they found something amazing. It was a message from the last advanced civilization on Earth, the one that was destroyed 10,000 years ago. But this message was different. It was not a warning. It was instructions. Park Mina read the metal scroll with growing excitement. They knew, she whispered, they knew the destroyers were coming, and they figured out how to fight them, but they ran out of time. They hid these instructions for the next civilization to find. The instructions were complex. They talked about quantum frequencies and resonance weapons. They showed how the destroyer's technology worked and how it could be turned against them. The aliens had one weakness: their entire civilization ran on the same quantum frequency. If that frequency could be disrupted, their ships, their weapons, their life support, everything would fail. But the instructions also showed why no civilization had ever succeeded in fighting back. The weapons needed to disrupt the quantum frequency required technology that took hundreds of years to develop. No civilization had ever had enough warning to build them in time. Kim Tae-ho felt hope for the first time since finding the stones. We are different, he said to his team. We have technology the previous civilizations never had. We have computers and satellites and nuclear power. We can build these weapons if we start now. Lee Dong-yoon was already on his radio calling Seoul. The Korean government needed to know about this immediately, but more than that, the whole world needed to know. Every country, every scientist, every military force on Earth needed to work together. We need to tell everyone. Park Maina said her fear was being replaced by determination. We need to share these instructions with every nation on Earth. This is not about Korea or America or China. This is about the human race as the Arctic sun set behind the mountains. Kim Tae-ho looked at the ancient stones one more time. For millions of years, the destroyers had come to Earth like farmers harvesting wheat. They had killed billions of humans and wiped out countless civilizations, but this time would be different. This time humanity knew they were coming. This time humans had the instructions to fight back. This time the prey would be ready for the hunters. The discovery in the Siberian ice would change everything. In 3 years and 4 months, the destroyers would return, expecting to find primitive humans cowering in fear. Instead, they would find a unified planet armed with weapons designed specifically to kill them. The long harvest was about to end. The age of human resistance was about to begin. General Choi Min-ho sat in the biggest meeting room he had ever seen. Leaders from every country on Earth were staring at him with worried faces. The United Nations building in New York had never held such an important meeting. Everyone knew something terrible was coming, but most of them still could not believe it. Kim Tae-ho stood at the front of the room holding a tablet computer. The screen showed pictures of the black stones from Siberia. The symbols seemed to glow even in the photos, making everyone in the room feel uncomfortable. These are not fake, he said, his voice carried to every corner of the room. We have tested the stones with every machine we have. They are real, and they are older than human civilization. President Martinez of the United States slammed his hand on the table. This is crazy, he shouted. You want us to believe that aliens come to Earth every 10,000 years to kill everyone? This sounds like a bad movie, not real life. But Dr. Song Yuna stepped forward. She was the best space scientist in Korea, and her face was very serious. Mr. President, she said, we have found proof in space. Our satellites detected strange objects at the edge of our solar system. They have been watching us for decades, waiting for the right time. She pressed a button, and the big screen showed radar images of massive objects moving slowly toward Earth. The objects were bigger than any spaceship humans had ever imagined. They moved in perfect formation like soldiers marching to war. The room became completely quiet. Everyone stared at the screen with growing fear. The objects were still very far away, but they were definitely coming toward Earth. Dr. Song pointed at the screen with a laser pointer. According to our calculations, they will arrive in exactly 3 years and 2 months. Our Park Maina walked to the microphone. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was strong. We found more stone tablets in Egypt and Peru and China. She said the message is the same everywhere. Advanced civilizations rise on Earth. Then the destroyers come from space. Everything gets wiped clean. Only primitive humans survive to start over. She showed photos of tablets from around the world. Each one told the same story. Great cities built by humans who were much smarter than history books. Said they had flying machines and powerful weapons and amazing technology, but every 10,000 years fire fell from the sky and burned it all away. The Egyptian tablets show a civilization that built the pyramids using technology we do not understand today. Dr. Park continued. The Peruvian tablets talk about cities in the clouds that fell when the sky burned. The Chinese tablets describe dragons from space that breathed fire on the Earth, all of them. And the same way, total destruction. General Choi stood up slowly. He had fought in 3 wars, but nothing had ever scared him like this. But we found something else, he said, something that gives us hope. The last civilization knew the destroyers were Coming, they studied the enemy and found their weakness. Dr. Kim stepped forward again holding a metal scroll. The previous humans discovered that all alien technology uses the same quantum frequency. He explained everything, their spaceships, their weapons, their life support systems, all runs on one frequency. If we can build weapons that disrupt that frequency, their entire fleet will become helpless. The Russian president leaned forward. That sounds too simple, he said. If it was so easy, why did the previous civilization fail? Dr. Kim looked directly at him. Because they did not have enough time, he answered. The tablets show they only had 5 years of warning. We have already used up 8 months, but we still have more time than any civilization before us, and we have something they did not have. What is that? Asked the Prime Minister of Japan. Modern technology. Dr. Kim smiled for the first time since entering the room. They had to build quantum disruptor weapons using stone tools and bronze. We have computers and nuclear reactors and satellites we can do in 3 years. What took them centuries to attempt? Dr. Bay Hyungwoo opened his laptop and showed detailed plans from the metal scrolls. We understand how to build the weapons, he said. The alien's quantum frequency is very specific. Our computers have already calculated the exact resonance needed to disrupt it. We can make weapons that will turn their technology against them. The Chinese leader raised her hand. How do we know these plans will work? Dr. Song answered. We tested a small prototype last week. She pressed another button, and the screen showed a video of a strange machine firing an invisible beam at a piece of alien metal from the stones. The metal began to crack and crumble as if it was aging rapidly. The quantum disruption works perfectly. General Choi walked around the room looking at each world leader. We need every country to work together, he said. This is not about politics or borders anymore. This is about survival. The human race has 3 years to build weapons that have never existed before. The room erupted in worried voices. Leaders argued about money and resources and who would be in charge, but Dr. Kim raised his hand and everyone became quiet. Again, look at the timeline, he said, pointing to the screen. Every previous civilization fought alone. The Egyptians did not help the Chinese. The Americans did not help the Europeans. Each group tried to save only themselves, and they all failed. That is why the destroyers always won. He changed the screen to show a map of the world with red dots marking where tablets had been found. But this time, we know the truth. Before the attack begins, we can share information and resources. We can build a global defense system. The destroyers expect to find scattered primitive tribes. Instead, they will find a united planet ready for war. The Indian Prime Minister stood up. What exactly are you asking us to do? Dr. Kim took a deep breath. We need to build quantum disruptor weapons in secret, large ones that can destroy spaceships, small ones that soldiers can carry. We need orbital platforms to fight them in space. We need underground bunkers to protect civilians. We need to do all of this without the destroyers knowing we are ready. The British leader shook her head. This will cost trillions of dollars. How do we pay for it? General Choi answered her. What is the cost of human extinction? Every dollar, every resource, every brilliant mind on Earth must focus on this project. Nothing else matters. If we all die in 3 years, one by one. The world leaders began to nod. The proof was too strong to ignore. The alien fleet was really coming. The ancient tablets were telling the truth. Humanity faced extinction, but for the first time in Earth history, the prey knew the hunters were coming. Dr. Kim showed them the final tablet. It had a message carved by the last survivor of the previous civilization. They wrote this as their cities burned, he said. As he read the ancient words, we failed, but we leave these instructions for those who come after. May you succeed where we could not. May you break the cycle that has enslaved this world for millions of years. The room fell completely silent as everyone understood what they had to do. Over the next 3 years, every nation would have to work together. Every weapon, every shield, every defense system would have to be perfect. Because if they failed, humanity would join the countless other species that had been harvested from the stars. But if they succeeded, Earth would be free for the first time in its history. The long nightmare of the destroyers would finally end. Commander Kang Ji-woo stood on top of a mountain in Australia, watching thousands of workers build the biggest weapons factory in human history. 2 years ago, this place was empty desert. Now, it looked like a city from the future. Giant machines dug tunnels deep into the rock, while others assembled massive metal structures that reached toward the sky. The factory was one of 50 being built around the world. Each one was hidden from satellites and designed to look like something normal from space. This one looked like a mining operation, but underground teams of the smartest humans on Earth were building weapons that could kill Godstar. Bae Hyun-woo walked up to her, wiping sweat from his face. His team had been working for 18 hours, straight testing the quantum disruptor technology. Commander, the prototype weapons are ready for full testing, he said. The small ones work perfectly, but the big ship-killing weapons are much harder to build. Go Ji-woo followed him into the underground facility. The tunnels were lit by bright white lights and filled with the sound of machines working day and night. Workers from every country labored together. Korean engineers worked beside Russian scientists, American soldiers helped Chinese technicians. Everyone had put aside old hatred to focus on survival. In the main laboratory, Dr. Bae showed her the latest weapon. It looked like a giant silver cannon, but instead of bullets it fired invisible quantum waves. We can disrupt alien technology from a distance of 500 kilometers, he explained. One shot from this weapon can disable their biggest spaceship. But building the weapons was only part of the plan. Dr. Shin Myung led the space defense project. High above Earth, workers were secretly building orbital battle stations. They looked like normal satellites to anyone watching from below, but they were actually the most powerful weapons platforms ever. Ji Ji-woo spoke to Dr. Shin over video link from the underground facility. The orbital platforms are 60% complete, Shin reported. We have teams working in space around the clock. The aliens will not expect us to fight them above Earth. Every previous civilization only fought from the ground. The space workers faced incredible dangers. They had to build the platforms in secret using small shuttles that would not attract attention. One mistake could expose the entire project, but they continued working because they knew failure meant death for everyone they loved. Captain Yoo Ji-hoon commanded the ground-based defenses. He was turning entire mountains into weapon platforms. The quantum disruptor cannons were so big, they had to be built inside the mountains themselves. Power cables ran underground for hundreds of kilometers, connecting the weapons to nuclear reactors. We are turning Earth itself into a fortress, Yu explained to his international team. Every major city has underground bunkers. Every mountain range has hidden weapons. The aliens expect to find helpless humans running in panic. Instead, they will find a planet that fights back. The most amazing part was how humanity had changed. Countries that had been enemies for centuries now shared their most secret technology. Wars that had lasted for decades suddenly stopped as everyone focused on the real enemy. Money flowed freely between nations to fund the weapons projects. Dr. Lim Sun-ho was a psychologist who studied how the previous civilizations had failed. Fear was their greatest enemy. He told the Global Command Center, when the destroyers arrived, people panicked and could not work together. We are training entire populations to stay calm during the attack. Schools around the world began teaching children about the coming invasion. But instead of creating fear, the lessons created determination. Children learned about the quantum disruptor weapons and the brave workers building them. They learned that humanity was stronger when working together than when fighting alone. The underground cities were marvels of engineering. Millions of people could live safely below ground for months. Major cities like New York and Tokyo and London had entire duplicate cities built in caverns far below the surface. If the aliens bombed the surface, humans could survive and continue fighting. Captain Lee Sung-ho supervised the evacuation plans. We cannot save the buildings, he explained to worried city leaders, but we can save the people. The aliens will bomb every major city on Earth, expecting to kill millions. Instead, they will find empty buildings. The weapons testing continued day and night. Dr. Bae team had built over 1,000 small quantum disruptors that soldiers could carry. They tested the weapons on pieces of alien metal found with the stone tablets. Every test showed the same result. The alien technology crumbled when hit by the quantum waves. We are ready for individual aliens, she reported to the Global Defense Council, but we need the big orbital weapons to stop their spaceships. The largest quantum disruptor is almost finished. It will be powerful enough to disable their entire fleet. The final months of preparation were the most intense. Workers pushed themselves beyond human limits, knowing that every day counted. Every weapon had to be perfect. Every defense system had to work flawlessly. There would be no second chances. Dr. Kim Taiho visited every facility around the world, checking on progress. He had become the unofficial leader of humanity preparation. Efforts 2.5 years ago, we were scattered tribes who fought each other, he told workers in Brazil. Now we are one species with one goal. The aliens think they are coming to harvest primitive humans. They have no idea what we have become. The quantum frequency calculations were checked and rechecked by teams of mathematicians. The alien weakness was real, but the weapons had to be tuned perfectly. If the frequency was even slightly wrong, the quantum disruptors would be useless. General Choi visited the main command center deep under a mountain in Switzerland. The center could coordinate the entire global defense system. Screens showed the location of every weapon, every shelter, every defensive position on Earth and in space. We have built what no civilization has ever built before, he announced to the assembled commanders, a planetary defense system designed specifically to fight the destroyers. We have weapons they cannot defend against. We have shelters they cannot penetrate. We have unity they have never faced. The countdown timer on the main screen showed only 3 weeks remaining. The alien fleet was visible to telescopes now, strange dark shapes moving steadily toward Earth. Their massive ships looked exactly like the pictures carved on the ancient stone tablets. Commander Kang stood in the Australian facility, looking at the workers putting finishing touches on the mountain-sized quantum disruptor. For 10 million years, the destroyers had come to Earth expecting easy victory. They had burned civilizations that never knew they were coming. They had harvested billions of humans who could not fight back. But this time would be different. This time humanity was ready. This time the farmers would discover that their crops had grown teeth. The greatest test in human history was about to begin. Admiral Park Won-suk floated in the command center of the orbital defense station, watching his screens with cold determination. The alien fleet had finally arrived, exactly as the ancient tablets predicted. 67 massive ships hung in space around Earth like dark clouds blocking out the stars. Each ship was the size of a city and bristled with weapons that could burn continents. Lieutenant No Sang-yi worked at the sensor station, her fingers flying over the controls. The alien ships are positioning themselves for orbital bombardment, she reported. Her voice was steady despite the fear. Everyone felt the pattern matches the tablets perfectly. They plan to destroy all major population centers. Within 6 hours, the destroyers moved with the confidence of predators who had never faced real resistance. Their ships took up positions that would allow them to fire on every major city simultaneously. They had done this same routine on thousands of worlds against countless species. None had ever survived, but the aliens did not know that the cities below were mostly empty. Millions of humans were safely hidden in underground shelters built specifically to survive orbital bombardment. The destroyers expected to kill most of humanity with their first attack. Instead, they would waste their energy on empty buildings. Captain Jang Min-seok commanded the largest hidden orbital platform. His weapon was disguised to look like space debris floating harmlessly in orbit. All stations report ready, he whispered into his communicator. The quantum disruptor weapons are charged and targeted on their command ships. Remember, we get only one chance at surprise on Earth. Major Huan Yunji watched the alien fleet through powerful telescopes. From her bunker deep inside Mount Fuji, the mountain had been hollowed out and filled with the most powerful quantum disruptor cannon ever built. The weapon drew power from 3 nuclear reactors and could punch through the shields of the largest alien ship. They have no idea we are here, she said to her crew. The aliens are following their standard attack pattern. They expect to find Stone Age humans cowering in caves. Instead, they will find a planet armed with weapons designed to kill them. The alien ships began their final preparations. Energy readings spiked as their main weapons started charging. The destroyers had perfected this routine over millions of years. First, they would eliminate all major cities, then they would hunt down any survivors. Finally, they would harvest whatever resources they needed before moving on to the next world. But something unexpected happened. A radio signal came from Earth, broadcasting on frequencies the aliens had not heard in 10,000 years. The signal was in their own language, translated from the ancient stone tablets. Dr. Kim Tae-ho voice carried the message that would change galactic history. We know who you are, he said from the global command center hidden beneath the Swiss mountains. We know what you have done to our world for millions of years. We know about the harvest cycles and the civilizations you destroyed. We know about your weakness. The alien fleet stopped moving for the first time in their species history. The destroyers faced prey that knew they were coming. The massive ships hung motionless in space as their crews tried to process this impossible development. We are not the primitive humans you expected, Kim continued, his voice calm and confident. We found the tablets your previous victims left behind. We learned how to build the weapons that can kill you. This harvest ends today. Inside the alien command ship, confusion spread through the crew. They had harvested thousands of worlds and millions of species. Never had prey spoken to them in their own language. Never had victims shown knowledge of their technology. Never had a harvest gone wrong. The alien commander tried to understand what was happening below them. Should be cowering primitives who barely knew how to make fire. Instead, they were receiving sophisticated transmissions that showed detailed knowledge of destroyer operations. We give you one chance, Kim voice continued. Leave our solar system now and never return. If you begin your attack, we will defend ourselves with weapons you cannot imagine. The alien commander felt something he had not experienced in a million years: uncertainty. But destroyer pride was stronger than caution. These were still primitive mammals who had barely learned to fly in space. No matter what they claimed, they could not threaten ships that had conquered galaxies. The alien fleet resumed their attack positions. Energy weapons began charging again. The destroyers would eliminate this strange resistance just as they had eliminated all others. The harvest would proceed as it always had. That was their final mistake. Admiral Park watched his tactical display as the alien weapons reached full power. All units, he commanded, execute Operation Harvest. Moonspace around Earth erupted in coordinated violence. Humanity hidden weapons revealed themselves simultaneously. The quantum disruptor beams were invisible, but their effects were devastating. The alien ships' shields flickered and failed as their own technology turned against them. The largest destroyer watched in horror as its shields collapsed and its weapons went offline. Inside the ship, aliens ran in panic as their life support systems began failing. The quantum frequency that powered their entire civilization was being disrupted by weapons they had never imagined possible. Captain Jang orbital platform fired its main quantum disruptor at the alien flagship. The beam passed through the ship's armor as if it was not there. Inside the vessel, every system that relied on quantum technology began to break down. The ship started to tear itself apart from the inside. Direct hit on the command vessel. Lieutenant No reported with excitement, their quantum matrix is collapsing exactly as our scientists predicted. But the destroyers were not helpless. They had conquered galaxies through superior firepower, and they still had many weapons that worked. Return fire lanced out from the surviving alien ships. Massive energy beams targeted the orbital platforms that had just revealed themselves. The first human orbital station exploded in a ball of fire as an alien beam tore through its hull. But even as it died, the station crew managed to fire their quantum disruptor one final time. Another alien ship went dark as its technology failed on Earth. The mountain-based weapons joined the battle. Captain Yu quantum cannon fired from inside Mount McKinley. The invisible beam reached across space and struck an alien cruiser. The ship hull began to buckle as its structural integrity failed. Major Huang weapon fired from Mount Fuji, targeting the alien ships that were trying to retreat. The quantum disruptor beam caught them before they could escape Earth gravity, while two more destroyer vessels lost power and began falling toward the planet's surface. The battle raged across space and time. Alien ships that had seemed invincible minutes before now struggled to keep basic systems running. Their quantum technology was failing all around them. Some ships tried to retreat while others attempted desperate attacks on the planet's surface, but humanity had prepared for this moment. The underground shelters held firm against alien bombardment. The hidden weapons continued firing from positions the destroyers could not locate. For the first time in galactic history, the harvesters were losing a battle. Admiral Park watched his tactical display with growing amazement. 18 alien ships were already destroyed or disabled. The remaining vessels were trying to coordinate a retreat, but their communication systems were failing as the quantum disruption spread through their fleet. We did it, he whispered in disbelief. We actually did it. The hunters have become the hunted. The battle for Earth had been raging for 12 hours, and space around the planet looked like a graveyard. Burning alien ships tumbled through the darkness while human orbital platforms returned fire with quantum disruptor beams that turned enemy technology into scrap metal. The destroyers, who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years, were learning what it meant to fight an enemy that was ready for them. Commander Rudean piloted his fighter through the chaos of the space battle. His small ship was equipped with a miniaturized quantum disruptor that could punch holes in alien armor. The destroyers had never faced fighter attacks before. Their massive ships were designed to bombard planets, not fight small, fast targets. The weapon ports, he called to his squadron. His fighter squad was made up of pilots from 12 different countries, but they flew together like they had trained their whole lives. The quantum weapons are disrupting their point defense systems. They cannot target us properly. Ru dove his fighter toward the nearest alien cruiser. The ship was 3 kilometers long and covered with weapons that should have torn his tiny craft apart, but the quantum disruption was cascading through the alien vessels. Systems, their targeting computers, could not lock onto the human fighters. He fired his quantum disruptor at the aliens' main gun. The invisible beam passed through their shields and struck the weapon directly. The massive cannon began to crack and crumble as its quantum matrix collapsed. Another alien weapon was permanently destroyed. Back on Earth, Captain Lee Seung-ho watched the battle from his command post inside Mount Everest. The mountain had been turned into a fortress with quantum disruptor cannons powerful enough to reach ships in high orbit. His weapons crew was made up of soldiers from 6 different armies, but they worked together perfectly. Fire at the battleship, he ordered as his crew targeted the largest remaining alien vessel. The main quantum cannon drew power from 4 nuclear reactors and could disable even the biggest destroyer ship. The mountain shook as the weapon fired, sending an invisible beam of destruction into space. The alien battleship was struck directly. In its command center, the quantum disruption spread through the ship's systems like a virus. Everything that relied on quantum technology began to fail. Lights went out, gravity generators stopped working, and life support systems shut down. Direct hit, reported Sergeant Kim Minji from the targeting station. The battleship is losing power across all decks. Their crew is evacuating to escape pods, but the destroyers were not giving up easily. The surviving alien ships concentrated their fire on the human orbital platforms, trying to eliminate the weapons that were tearing their fleet apart. Massive energy beams lanced through space, turning human battle stations into clouds of glowing debris. Admiral Park watched from his flagship as another orbital platform exploded under alien fire. "We are losing stations faster than we can build them," he said to his staff, "but look at their fleet. They have lost 40 ships, and the ones still fighting are barely holding together." The quantum disruption was spreading through the alien fleet in ways human scientists had not expected. The destroyers had built their entire civilization around quantum technology. Every ship was connected to every other ship through quantum communication networks. When the human weapons disrupted one ship, the effect spread to nearby vessels. Dr. Bae Hin-woo monitored the battle from the underground command center. "The quantum cascade is working better than we hoped," he reported to the Global Defense Council. "Their ships are all connected to each other. When we destroy one vessel, it weakens all the others." Nearby, the alien commander was facing a nightmare that destroyer legends said was impossible. His species had conquered thousands of worlds and harvested millions of civilizations. Never had prey fought back with such effectiveness. Never had destroyer technology failed so completely. The remaining alien ships tried a desperate strategy. They began ramming attacks, diving their massive vessels toward Earth major cities, hoping to cause damage. Even as their ships died, the first alien cruiser plunged toward New York at incredible speed, but humanity was ready for this. 2 hidden missile batteries around the world fired quantum-disrupted warheads at the diving alien ships. The missiles did not explode. Instead, they passed through alien armor and disrupted the ship's engines from the inside. Alien cruiser heading for New York suddenly lost power, its engines failing just as it entered Earth atmosphere. The massive ship tumbled out of control and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean miles away from any city. The impact created a huge wave, but no humans were hurt. Major Huang directed the defense of Tokyo as 3 alien ships dove toward the city. Her quantum disruptor cannon fired repeatedly sending invisible beams that tore through the attacking vessels. One by one, the alien ships lost power and crashed harmlessly into the ocean. The battle was turning into a rout. Alien ships that had seemed invincible at the start of the fight were now fleeing toward the edge of the solar system. But human weapons had a longer range than the destroyers expected. Quantum disruptor beams reached out across millions of kilometers to strike retreating vessels. Commander Kang coordinated the global defense from her bunker in Australia. 43 alien ships destroyed, she reported to the world leaders. 18 more disabled and drifting. Only 6 ships still have full power, and they are trying to escape, but the human fighters were not letting them escape. Commander Ru led his squadron in pursuit of the fleeing destroyer vessels. His quantum disruptor had been upgraded during the battle and could now penetrate even the heaviest alien armor. The alien ships tried to jump to faster than light speed to escape the solar system, but the quantum disruption had damaged their jump drives. The massive vessels were trapped in normal space where human weapons could reach them. Captain Jang orbital platform fired its quantum disruptor at the lead destroyer. The beam struck the ship's jump drive just as it was trying to activate. The alien vessel shuddered and stopped its escape attempt, failing. The ship was trapped in Earth orbit. With no way to escape, one by one, the remaining alien ships were hunted down by human weapons. The destroyers who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years found themselves helpless against weapons designed by the species they had planned to harvest. Last functional alien ship tried to surrender, broadcasting a message on all frequencies. But humanity had seen the tablets showing millions of dead civilizations. The destroyer species had never shown mercy and would receive none. Dr. Kim voice carried across all human communication channels from the global command center. No surrender, he announced. These creatures have murdered billions of innocent beings across the galaxy. They came here to kill every man, woman, and child on Earth. There can be no mercy for genocidal monsters. The final alien ship was destroyed by quantum disruptor fire from 3 different orbital platforms. The vessel broke apart in a shower of debris that burned up in Earth atmosphere like falling stars. Admiral Park looked at his tactical display in amazement. The alien fleet was completely destroyed. 67 ships that had conquered galaxies lay scattered around Earth as burning wreckage. Not a single destroyer vessel remained functional. The battle was over. Humanity had achieved the impossible. They had not just survived the harvest, they had completely destroyed the destroyers. The species that had ruled the galaxy through fear and superior technology had been wiped out by their intended victims. For the first time in 10 million years, Earth was truly free. Commander Park Jiang-ho floated through the corridors of the last alien command ship. 3 days after the great battle ended, the massive vessel hung dead in space around Earth, a monument to humanity's first victory over their ancient enemies. His boarding team moved carefully through the dark hallways, their quantum disruptor weapons ready for any remaining aliens. Ship is completely dead, he reported back to Earth Command. Their life support failed when our weapons hit their quantum core. There are no survivors, but we are finding incredible technology that will change everything. The alien ship was like a museum of galactic conquest. Dru Minji, the team scientist, examined the strange bodies they found in the command center. These beings are not what we expected, she said with wonder in her voice. They are incredibly old, much older than any species should be able to live. The destroyer bodies were withered and ancient, looking like they had lived for thousands of years. Dr. Yu scanning equipment showed the truth. They have been alive for millions of years, she whispered. They sustained their lives by harvesting the life energy from young civilizations like ours. Captain Li Jiangsu led the team searching the ship's data banks. What they found there changed everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. The destroyers had kept detailed records of every world they had harvested, every species. They had murdered every civilization they had destroyed. We have star charts showing the location of thousands of worlds they attacked, Li reported. The destruction goes back over 10 million years. They have been the greatest mass murderers in galactic history. The databanks showed the horrible scope of the destroyer crimes. Entire star systems had been stripped of life. Advanced civilizations that might have become humanity allies had been burned to ashes. Species that could have been friends had been harvested like crops. But the most shocking discovery Was that some civilizations might still be alive? Dr. Shin Myong studied the star charts with growing excitement. Many of these worlds show signs of hidden colonies. She announced some species escaped to other planets before the destroyers found them. There could be millions of survivors scattered across the galaxy. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just freed Earth, they had potentially liberated an entire galaxy from 10 million years of systematic genocide. The destroyer empire was broken and countless species could finally live without fear. General Choi arrived at the captured alien ship to see the discoveries for himself. The boarding team showed him through corridors filled with stolen artifacts from destroyed civilizations. Weapons, art, and technology from 1,000 different species lined the walls like trophies. This ship is a floating museum of genocide, he said with disgust, but it also gives us everything we need to find the survivors and help them rebuild. Dr. Kim joined the exploration team, bringing with him the original stone tablets from Siberia. He compared the alien records with the warnings left by previous Earth civilizations. The pattern matches perfectly, he said. The destroyers have been harvesting Earth for millions of years, but they also harvested hundreds of other worlds in this part of the galaxy. The alien technology was beyond anything humans had imagined. Their ships could travel faster than light. Their weapons could destroy planets, and their sensors could detect life across entire star systems. But all of it relied on the quantum frequency that humanity had learned to disrupt. We now have access to technology that will let us travel to other stars, Dr. Bay announced. As his team studied the alien engines with modifications to remove the quantum dependencies, we can build ships that will let us explore the entire galaxy. The news of humanity victory spread across Earth like wildfire. Cities that had been evacuated began to fill up again as people emerged from underground shelters to celebrate the greatest threat in human history had been defeated, and Earth was safe. But the celebration was tempered by the magnitude of what they had learned. Commander Kong addressed the world from her base in Australia. We have won the battle for Earth, she announced, but we have also learned that we are not alone in suffering. Millions of other species have been victims of the destroyers across the galaxy. The captured alien data showed that the destroyer empire had controlled over 50,000 star systems. Each one had been systematically harvested of intelligent life, leaving only empty worlds behind. The scale of the genocide was almost impossible to comprehend. Dr. Park studied the psychological profiles the destroyers had kept of their victims. They were afraid, she realized. The destroyers were terrified that someday a species would grow strong enough to fight back. That is why they harvested worlds before civilizations could develop interstellar technology, but humanity had broken the pattern. Earth had developed the technology to fight back before the destroyers could stop them. The prey had become predators, and the galaxy's greatest monsters were dead. President Chun addressed the United Nations Assembly, which was meeting for the first time since the battle. Today, humanity stands at a crossroads, she said. We can remain on Earth satisfied with our victory, or we can take our place as protectors of the galaxy. The choice is ours. The choice was not difficult to make. Within weeks of the victory, Earth began construction of the first interstellar exploration fleet. The ships would be armed with quantum disruptor weapons and crewed by humans from every nation. Their mission was to find the survivors of the destroyer campaigns and help them rebuild. Commander Ru was chosen to lead the first expedition to a nearby star system where the alien records showed a hidden colony of survivors. We go not as conquerors, he told his crew, but as liberators. The age of harvest is over. The age of cooperation begins. Dr. Kim stood in his laboratory holding one of the original stone tablets that had started everything. The ancient warnings carved by dying civilizations had saved not just humanity, but potentially the entire galaxy. From the ashes of defeat, they had built the weapons of victory. The quantum disruptor technology was shared freely with every nation on Earth. Humanity had learned that cooperation was stronger than competition. Working together, they had achieved the impossible. Alone, they would have died like all the others. 6 months after the battle, the first human interstellar ship launched from Earth orbit. Its destination was a star system 40 light-years away, where destroyer records showed a colony of survivors who had been hiding for 10,000 years. They would soon learn that the monsters were dead, and the galaxy was finally free. Admiral Park stood on the Bridge of Earth, first starship looking out at the stars that had once seemed so far away. We are no longer prisoners on our own world, he said to his crew. The destroyers kept us trapped here for millions of years, but now we can go anywhere behind them. Earth grew smaller in the viewing screen, but it would always be home, the planet that had broken the cycle of harvest, the world that had turned victims into victors, the birthplace of the species that had freed the galaxy from its greatest nightmare. The 10,000-year cycle was ended. The age of human exploration had begun. The destroyers had come to harvest Earth, and instead had harvested their own destruction. From the cold of Siberia to the vastness of space, humanity had proven that sometimes the prey can become the predators, and across the galaxy, worlds that had hidden in fear for millions of years began to receive a message broadcast by human ships. "We are coming," it said. "We are here to help. The harvest is over. You are free."